Hey, I've wanted to make a YouTube video for a long time, and then the other day I was on YouTube and I saw something that I just had to respond to, and it was called MGTOW. Acronyms stands for MGTOW. Means men going their own way. That's not and at first blush I got all excited because I like it when men do their own thing and don't follow the crowd. But as I started looking into it, and apparently it's a big thing. It was all over YouTube when I was looking into it. These men aren't just going their own way. They're well, the whole point of the thing is that these men are saying that that modern women have gotten so toxic towards men, and the whole system of gender roles and marriage and relationships has gotten so skewed one way that men just shouldn't have anything to do with it at all. That men shouldn't get married, that men shouldn't commit to long-term relationships, shouldn't have children, that that the system is unfair and one-sided, and so they should have nothing to do with it. And to me, that ruined the whole thing, because for me, men are supposed to be leaders in everything, in the home, in the world, in society. You know, that's what we were designed and created to do. And these MGTOW guys, they're not leading, they're quitting. And I get that being a leader is hard, especially when you're trying to lead people who don't want to be led. And modern women would tell you that, you know, you can't lead me, and no way are you a leader. And I'm certainly not saying that there's not individual cases where you do have to go your own way, where you're dealing with a woman who can't be led or won't be led and won't change, and there's no hope for change. And certainly you shouldn't have anything to do with a woman like that. But at the same time, we can't, as men, we can't abandon society. I mean, we built society. We maintain society. Without us, there is no society. Certainly, without women, there's no society either. But without us, if we clock out, society crumbles. And that's happening anyway in the West. But we can't accelerate it with this selfish idea that women are too much trouble. And that's what really struck me about the MGTOW thing, was that it sounded like for these men it was too hard. And like I said, it is too hard if you try to play by the rules of the game as it's set up. I'm not saying that you have to deal with the system the way it is. We should clock out of that system. But that doesn't mean we don't offer an alternative. And that alternative is what I was going to kind of want to talk about a little bit. You know, it's not an either-or situation. We don't have to either be slaves and drones and beat-down servants of the matriarchy. Neither do we have to be a bunch of wild animals living in male-only herds, you know, wandering the savannah, causing havoc and mayhem, because that's what happens when men wander around in packs together. Things get broken and people get hurt. You know, that's why militaries are all males. You know, bandits are male bands, or, you know, pirates are groups of men, because that's what happens when you put men together with no mission, with no sense of purpose. They start looking for things to burn down. We see it in our society, in gangs and cities and whatnot, and ISIS and some of the more weird Islamist jihad stuff. That's not an option. You know, we have to build. We either have to build or destroy. That's our only two options as men. We're either building or we're destroying. And these MGTOW guys, they're destroying, even though they would never think about themselves that way, because you listen to their videos and you watch their stuff, and they really come across as pretty whiny, and a little, not a little, you know, they come across as weak men who can't affect the world around them. And what I would like to offer is an alternative. And it's an old alternative. It's nothing new. It certainly didn't start with me. And for lack of a better term, I'm just going to call it patriarchy. You know, and I would approach these men, and I would grab them by their lapels and shake them a little bit, look them in the eye, and say, you know, you were made for better than this. And in a way, you almost can't blame some of these women for taking the bit between their teeth and running with it when you got men who we're going to shrink and wilt so quickly. Uh, you know, I'm going to get pretty far afield now. There's a way to tell if something's a universal truth. Uh, if something makes sense when it's explained through a belief in a creative God or evolution, if it makes sense both ways, there's a good chance it's a universal truth. And male headship makes sense both ways, or male leadership, or patriarchy, or however you want to call it, makes sense both ways. If there was a God, He created us. It's very obvious that He created us male and female with roles, with definite roles to fulfill. And if we evolved out of evolution, it's very obvious that evolution evolved us to work in this traditional male-female pattern, where there's a strong dominant male, and there's a soft, pliable female. Those are generalizations, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know, you see it with lions, you see it with elephants, you see it with, you know, little tiny fish in the sea. I mean, it's a pattern you see across nature, and it makes sense both ways. If God created us, it makes sense. If we evolved out of amoeba, it makes sense. So this is a universal truth, and there's not even any way you can really argue against it. You know, universally, men are dominant, men are aggressive, men are you know, all the things we associate with the traditional man, you know, decisive and risk takers and all these things, and women have a focus that's more immediately centered around what's around them, and it works well when you got that man doing the broad thing and the woman doing the centered thing, and the two get together and you build society. We've gotten away from that in our Western culture, period, and we've tried to rewrite all these rules that either evolved over millions of years or are hardwired into us from creation, and we've tried to change these rules for one side of that equation. We've tried to take the women and liberate them from the rules or just the realities of our existence, while we've tried to keep men corralled inside those rules that we say don't apply to women anymore. You know, women should have choices. Women shouldn't have to deal with any of the consequences of their actions. Everything they do should be supported and applauded and celebrated. And you look at the domestic violence thing by itself. You know, men are to never even intimidate a woman. It's gotten to the point where if a woman attacks a man, he's not even able to restrain her to defend himself without it being a real egregious crime. So we're expecting men to still play by the rules of protecting women and not even protecting, but keeping all harm from them, even if they cause the harm themselves. But we haven't made women responsible for their own the actions. I'm not happy with that explanation. But most men will know what I'm talking about, you know. We're still expecting, if a man doesn't have a job, he's a piece of trash. You know, if a woman doesn't have a job, she's just a homemaker, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big supporter of that. But in the culture at large, if a man's not working to support his children, then he's thought very poorly of. If a single mother's not working to support her children, she's still thought very highly of, and she's the saint, and she's this wonderful mother and everything, even if she's just living off of her child support. So there's still this double standard, and that's what, or not, there is this double standard, and that's what these men are responding to. This idea that they're still supposed to behave like traditional men without any of the benefits or the advantages or the tools, really, because what we think of are benefits and advantages were really the tools they needed to behave in this way, to value women, to protect their children, to make all the sacrifices and do the things that led to stable, economically viable homes. We still want the men to do all the things that make the homes stable and the women secure and the children valued and loved, but we want to free the women from all those same obligations. It's not a sustainable system. It's not sustaining itself. I mean, we see it all over the West. Cultures are disintegrating, populations are crashing. Permanent pair bonding, I won't say marriage because that term's pretty loaded, but permanent pair bonding where couples come together and commit for a lifetime to build something valuable, that basic unit that the whole society is built on, it's collapsing. It's not happening anymore. You know, each one of those permanent pair bonds are the bricks that the larger society is built on. And when we're not forming those permanent pair bonds, or, I mean, it doesn't have to be pair bonds. It could be tri bonds or quad bonds or keto bonds or whatever. But when those permanent bonds aren't being formed, we don't have the bricks to even build a society. We couldn't build a society if we wanted to. And the problem is the MGTOW guys are contributing to that, because instead of doing the hard work of trying to form a sustainable, viable pair bond or you know, bonding that's going to stay together for life come hell or high water and build something of lasting value, they're just clocking out altogether. So now we've got the feminists and the modern women, you know, killing society from their end, and then we've got the MGTOW guys not even willing to do the hard work of trying to build a sustainable bonding, what we would call marriage in years past. And I think it's a shame. I am married. I am in a permanent pair bond, and it's a wonderful thing when it's done correctly. When you're willing to do the hard work and take the heat and be the bad guy, and pick a direction and lead your family in it, and expect everyone to come with you. I know it's scary, but boy, it's worth it. So if I could get one of those MGTOW guys in front of me right now and shake them a little bit, look them in the eye, I'd tell them, you know, you're right. It is unfair. It is hard. They're making it too hard. It is scary. You can lose everything. You risk everything in the West to take a woman and into your home and give her your name. You risk everything because she can take it. She can take it all at any minute. She can pick up the phone. She can dial 911 and she can say, "I'm scared." And there will be a man with a gun at your house within 5 minutes, and he will drag you out of it. And it does not matter what actually happened or who was at fault. So it is scary, but it's worth it when you get it right. So that's my take on MGTOW. It's probably not worth anything more than the airtime it took up, but hopefully someone hears it and does something with it.